Hi, it's Hope and welcome to the video. This is going to be my Chain of Iron review. So this I'm going to talk spoilery in depth about aspects of this book that I liked, what I didn't like, overall talk about the plot, the characters, the villain, all of that. So this is 100% going to have spoilers. So if you haven't read the book, I would recommend go reading the book and then coming back and watching this once you've read it. I did do an entire reading vlog of this book, which I will have linked in the iCard and in the description, so you can see kind of my first reactions on this book. But I feel like I'm going to forget a lot of stuff in this, things that I consider not necessarily needed to talk about, but they're more smaller things. So yeah, I'm going to set the book up in the background so I don't have to hold it the entire time, because I will end up finding a way to smack myself with this book. I've done that before. So I honestly am not sure where to start. I have a list of things under the camera that I want to talk about, but I don't know where to start. I guess we'll start off that we pick up, I think it's 3 or 4 months, I think it's 4 months after Chain of Gold, and we're pretty much just about to have Cordelia and James's wedding. Now that is just where we start off. I will mention that one thing I mentioned in my reading vlog is this book has a trope that I literally love so much, and that is, well, it has a version of the trope which is fake dating, and obviously with Cordelia and James it's fake marriage, which is I loved, especially how the fact that obviously we know that Cordelia is in love with James, and that James, I guess, is in love with Cordelia but doesn't know because of Grace's influence, we'll call it, on James, and all of that. We'll probably come back to these two, but speaking of Grace and Lucy are working together in this book, which is a combination of characters that I was I don't know how this is going to go, because obviously we know that Lucy can not summon the dead, but summon ghosts and all of that. So Lucy is working with Grace to try to find a way to safely, I guess, resurrect Jesse. And that will also be brought back later in this review. A lot of things I'm okay, let's just start off talking about them and then we'll come back to it. But there's the wedding, which is very sweet, I guess. But because of obviously Cordelia and James getting married, that means that they live together, and now all of our characters have I guess a safe haven where it's anything can happen in this house, I guess. And I'm horrible at reviews, if you haven't been able to tell. I'm all over the place, especially with this one, because my brain just goes Chain of Iron and just goes, amazing. So yeah, let's just go on to the main villain, I guess, and the main mystery, I guess. So pretty early on, I can't remember at exactly what page type thing, but I think it's within the first 150 pages for sure, there is these murders that start happening where Shadowhunters are getting murdered. Now at first it seems okay, it's a one-off thing, but then it happens again, and then it's realized that maybe it's not this one-off thing because it's happened again, and then a third murder happens, but one thing that we find out is that James is essentially dreaming of these murders as they're happening, right after they're happening. So like there's that where it's like, why is he doing that? And with these murders, so we have two kind of like older characters. I think they're meant to be like the older generation, like all of that, they died. Then we have a younger Shadowhunter from Italy that ends up dying. And then we have Elias Carstairs, so Cordelia's dad ends up being one of these murder victims. So like there's that, he comes back for the wedding and then gets killed not that long after. I'm trying to think of things like throughout the first chunk of the book, like the like nothing from the ending as of right now, I'm trying to think. But when I just about knocked the book over. Once we get on to the 5th murder, that's where things start to get interesting, because James starts to think that he could be the one murdering them because he has these dreams. There's no way to like discern that they're not memories. So one night everyone kind of disagrees. Okay, let's figure this out. James ends up like being tied to his bed while like throughout the night, but Thomas ends up like I guess walking around like an area and then ends up finding a Shadowhunter dying, tries to heal her, then gets labeled the murderer and taken to the Institute and put in the sanctuary as like a makeshift prison, because everyone, well not everybody, but like the like Inquisitor, for example, thinks that he's the murderer, and obviously he's not. We know this, like they're like he's not, like again we know this. And also Alistair ends up getting himself arrested by claiming that he was following Thomas and saw him not do it and all of that, and I will be back on the topic of Alistair and Thomas in just a moment. So like there's all of that, but let's backtrack a little bit back to Grace, Lucy, and Jesse, and their like just their storyline, I guess, is really interesting because it's just like Lucy and Jesse end up getting getting closer, and that becomes really important towards the end of the story, how their friendship really evolves and they're truly friends, even though Lucy's human, Jesse's a ghost, all of that. And like I don't know really what else. We find out that Grace ends up having this like, it's a gift, it's a curse, what is it from, it's a gift as Tatiana calls it, it's a curse as like we call it type thing, because she has the ability to kind of like, I guess, control men and have it be like she can will them to do anything that she wants, and it only partially works on James. We find that out. Now let's go back to these murders, and I guess back to the topic of Alistair and Thomas for a brief moment. This is all over the place, but I'm trying to talk about things in chronological order kind of, and like I know I've already left a bunch of stuff out, but it is revealed that both Alistair and Thomas are, I guess, interested in each other, and they have been ever since they went to Paris and all of that. So I guess there is the slight possibility of something between the two of them going further, but we do have kind of a mini roadblock that might put a damper to it, but I'm not sure. But like I shipped Alistair and Thomas from, I don't even know what the fuck what the point was. It was probably like the first mention of them spending the time in Paris. I was just like, okay, yeah, sign me up, like sign me up for this friendship, sign me up for this possible future relationship, like whatever, like all of that. And seeing that it could go somewhere is just kind of like a little smile, and something I was not expecting really. So like when it happened, I was just like, oh, this is happening. Like that was literally my reaction and all of that. But it is eventually revealed that these murders are linked back to Belial, who is obviously James's grandfather and the ultimate villain, I guess, of this series, along with Tatiana Blackthorne and I guess Grace as well. But it turns out that these murders are kind of almost meant for a sigil to raise Leviathan, who is another greater demon, or I think that part was a little fuzzy. I couldn't remember if it was greater demon or just overall a demon. So we have this fight at the Institute with this Leviathan and like the characters of like Lucy and like Will and Tessa and like more of like the older characters, I guess. And then on, I can't remember the name of the bridge, we have a fight between Belial, Cordelia, James, Matthew. Feel like I'm missing somebody, maybe? I can't remember who was exactly there, and oh my god, like, I feel like I'm missing somebody, but like, all of that. And another thing that is revealed that when I say shocked me, I mean I literally think I had to close the book and like go, holy shit, is that things happened in the book earlier where there was like, for example, conversations that one character remembers happening but not the other. Like example, one conversation was Christopher was talking to Matthew about something, and then Christopher brought it up later and Matthew was like, we didn't have that conversation, I was never there with you, what are you talking about? It is revealed that Lilith, yes, Lilith has been kind of around fucking shit up by talking to characters and like having actions happen, I guess. And so she's so she was involved there for a little bit, and I was like, why did she show up? Like, I was not happy that she showed up, like, because it was pretty much like almost useless, I guess, because she was banished back to hell almost immediately, so yeah. But it turns out that these murders happened because Belial, it turns out the person that was doing these murders was Belial kind of possessing Jesse Blackthorne. So when Jesse was born or something, Belial, like, I don't remember exactly how it's worded, but like essentially Belial made it so that he would be able to possess Jesse upon Jesse's death, knowing that Jesse was probably going to die early. And like obviously we know he died when he was 17, so yeah. So it turns out it was Belial possessing Jesse to to do these murders and all of that. Belial gets injured and I think sent back to whatever dimension he's from. I can't, that's a little blurry. And Lucy ends up bringing Jesse back to life. Do not ask me how, I don't understand that part, but that is very interesting. But then let's just kind of, we're at the ending, I guess. Like, there's been a lot of things that I've kept out because, like, I'm not gonna say everything, things that I felt weren't necessary, but Jesse, with the help of a warlock, oh my god, which warlock is it? I can't remember, ends up kidnapping Lucy, and at the end of the book we don't know where she is. And also at the end of the book we have a chunk of the book where Cordelia and James are like talking. Things start, I guess what the word be heating up, like starts getting kind of romantic. James kind of realizes how he feels about Cordelia after his bracelet that was given to him by Grace, or as the fandom likes to call it, the Gracelet, which I find so funny, ended up breaking like a little bit earlier in the book, and Cordelia and James were kind of having a moment, and then Grace like shows up and kind of fucks shit up because Cordelia sees James and Grace talking and doesn't hear the full story, but she ends up running to Matthew's, and Matthew and Cordelia end up running away to Paris together. And that's kind of where the book ends. But I'm trying to think if there's any other little things that are like, there's like little things like, for example, there's a ball that happens that is pretty good, but nothing over the top spectacular happens at it. We go to the Hell Ruelle for a few different things. So there's that setting that happens. We end up going to the London like shadow market to try to figure out what something is. But like those I don't feel like are like, they're key things of the plot, but they're not much happens. Like it's minor things that happen, I guess. So I don't really know what else to say. This was definitely horrible because, again, I suck at reviews, and this one I didn't really have like an idea of what I was doing. It was pretty much just talking about things. But I enjoyed this book so much. Like, I think I liked it more than Chain of Gold, and I absolutely love Chain of Gold. So this one I think I loved. This is, I think, my favorite book I've read all year, I think, and I've read like 50 books this year, so that's like a pretty high thing. Not 100% sure if it is my favorite. I have to like think about it, but like it might be like, it's definitely in my top 3 books of this year so far that I've read. So like there's that, like it's amazing, and I don't want to have to wait another year for Chain of Thorns. Like, give me it now, especially with the fact that at the end of the book, Lucy's missing, Cordelia and Matthew are running off to Paris together, and James is kind of left in limbo, I guess, in London as more things are a little like, there's a couple things happening, and the epilogue is just kind of like, I guess, Tatiana and Belial talking, and just kind of where things are really starting to like get intense, and I'm really scared for Chain of Thorns, but equally as excited. And like so far for next year, that like Chain of Thorns is the most anticipated release for next year for sure so far. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Give me your opinions and your thoughts on this book in the comments below. I would absolutely love to hear them, because like my comments and all that are shit. Like pretty much I'm just constantly like, I like this, this is what happened, I like it. That's pretty much how my reviews typically go. But again, I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye!